Hello and welcome to our live broadcast for a mission we have called The Beat Goes On for satellite operators BlackSky through their mission managers Spaceflight Inc. I'm Uriel Baker and tonight I am joined by Neutron Systems Engineer Imogen Ray.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. Electron is now vertical and ready on Pad B at Rocket Lab Launch Complex 1, our private orbital launch range on the Mahia Peninsula.
LD GC on mission.
GCL.
Umbilical arm and prime sequence is complete.
Copy, thank you.
And with that, we are right on time to tune into our Mission Control Centre for today's launch to listen into the final go, no-go poll that's about to be run by our launch director, Julia Vembacher, to check in with our operators before heading into the terminal count ahead of launch. Now, each operator will check in from their stations with the LD to confirm systems are operating as they should. Let's listen in.
And to all operators, this is LD and mission code. We're proceeding now with the go, no-go sequence. Stage.
Stages go.
Avionics.
Avionics is go.
GNC.
GNC is go.
Recon.
Recon is go.
T1.
T1 is go.
GC.
GC is go.
PLS.
PLS is go.
RSO.
RSO is go.
MET.
MET is go.
MM.
MM is go.
Recovery.
Recovery is go.
And LD sub.
LD sub is go.
The go, no-go sequence is complete. We are currently T-minus 11 minutes and 18 seconds in counting. We are go for terminal count at T-minus 10 minutes. From this time, the 3-word hold procedure is in effect.
And that's Mission Control confirming that we will be proceeding with the rest of today's countdown and moving forward to liftoff. While today's mission is the last of a multi-launch deal for BlackSky, it is also possibly the beginning of a new phase of our recovery program to make Electron the world's first reusable small rocket. The Beat Goes On will be a marine recovery mission for our operators today, with the goal of retrieving Electron's first stage from the ocean downrange of Launch Complex 1. We've had many ocean splashdowns of Electron before. How it works is that our rocket launches to space with 2 parachutes attached internally to Electron's first stage. Once the first and second stage separate as normal, the first stage continues upwards on its trajectory before gravity brings it back down to Earth. As it descends, the first of the 2 parachutes, the first one we call drogue chute, is released to help slow down the speed of the rocket's return. A few moments after that, the second and much larger main parachute is deployed to really put on the brakes and help bring Electron under a smoother, more controlled descent to the water's surface. It's here in the middle of the ocean off New Zealand's east coast that our recovery team is stationed on our recovery ship, waiting in the drop zone to meet the first stage.
While previously we've used a helicopter to try and catch the rocket before it reaches the ocean, since we started pulling electrons from the water, our recovery team started to see a bit of a pattern with the return stages that they hadn't initially expected. It turns out Electron survives a swim in the ocean well enough that many of its components actually pass requalification for flight. So for this mission, we are putting the theory to the test of whether we need a helicopter at all. We've added waterproofing modifications to the stage to protect some of the key bits we want to keep dry. And depending on how well ocean recovery performs this go-around, the results may convince the team to stick with marine recovery altogether. The benefit of that would mean not only big savings costs to our recovery and reusability R&D, but it would also open up more flexibility for our launch windows and take us from 50% of Electron missions being suited for recovery up to as high as 70% of our missions. Today, once this stage is pulled on board the recovery ship, our team will begin the flushing and preservation steps to remove salt water, prevent corrosion, and secure the stage for the return voyage to our factory, where it will be examined thoroughly to determine the next steps in our recovery and reusability program. Today's severe space weather may have impacted our ability to complete a planned ocean recovery, but we'll keep you posted on that through today's mission. Michael Daly, who is part of the reusability team, can explain this process in more detail.
T-minus 20 seconds and counting. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Beginning pitch over.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
All right, T plus 32 seconds and our 35th Electron mission is off the pad and on its way to orbit. The next mission milestone will be max Q, when Electron experiences the most amount of mechanical stress as it heads skyward at the intersection of vehicle speed rising and air density dropping.
Electron is supersonic. Approaching max Q. Past max Q.
There it is from Mission Control. Electron has cleared max Q and is now throttling back up to full noise as it continues on to space.
MECO confirmed. Stage 2 ignition successful.
Stage 2 guidance nominal.
Right on cue there with MECO stage separation and
successful.
ignition of the Stage 2 Rutherford engine. Next on the checklist is separating the rocket's fairing and jettisoning the nose cone that protects the payloads during flight. This middle of the night launch means it might be too dark to see the separation event on our screen, but keep an eye out anyway as we listen into Mission Control for the call out.
HVB battery discharge is nominal.
Fairing jettison succeeded.
And there's the
Stage 2
confirmation
propulsion
we were
nominal.
waiting for. Electron's fairing has successfully been deployed. Stage 2 is continuing well with its payloads to orbit. The vehicle is currently reaching speeds of more than 8,500 kilometres per hour at an altitude of 135 kilometres.
So with Electron's second stage now at over
Throttling down.
194 kilometres in the air, the vehicle will be coming up on its next event, the action of swapping the batteries that keep the second stage's Rutherford engine going. As our 3D printed engines are powered by batteries, by this point in the launch sequence, those batteries are getting low on energy. And as you might have caught on your screen there, they have since dropped off because our engine has switched to the other set on board to keep it going. That's why we call it the battery hot swap.
Stage 2 performance holding nominal.
Main parachute deployed on recovery.
We have just heard from Mission Control that that the main chute was successful. The Electron is now powering its way down to 158 metres per second ahead of the stage landing in the ocean.
So with a velocity of 26,000 kilometres an hour and an altitude of over 191 kilometres, the final mission milestone for the second stage will be SECO, or second engine cutoff. And that is when the Rutherford engine throttles down before shutting off just ahead of Electron's third stage, what we call the kick stage, separating and carrying on with the mission with BlackSky's payload. And as you just saw there on the screen, we have had that successful shutdown of that second stage. So it's now onward for our third stage to deploy those satellites to orbit.
Welcome back to our 35th Electron mission, The Beat Goes On. Fantastic news in the break there from Mission Control from our recovery operators, confirming that the Electron booster has reached the ocean as planned. Our recovery ship will be moving fast now to reach the first stage as quickly as possible and get it on board the ship and secured for transport back to the mainland.
Congratulations to the recovery team and all of the Rocket Lab team who have worked on this recovery operation. It is not an easy thing to bring a rocket back to Earth, but they have done it again. We will share more updates on how Electron fared as the first stage and our team begin their journey home. We'll share those updates on our social media channels. But meanwhile, we are still a while away from the deployment of this mission's payloads for BlackSky, so we'll be taking another break on this webcast before coming back for payload deployment in around 40 minutes. Thanks for joining.
Welcome back to the webcast of Rocket Lab's 35th Electron launch. The beat goes on. Let's recap on the mission so far. The Electron rocket launched at the top of the launch window today, lifting off the pad at Rocket Lab Launch Complex 1 at 10:14 p.m. New Zealand time or 9:14 a.m. UTC. Electron had a clean pass through max Q, main engine cutoff, first and second stage separation, followed by second engine cutoff, and the final stage separation from the kick stage carrying today's pair of BlackSky satellites to low Earth orbit. The kick stage is now coming up on payload deployment shortly. With the Curie engine burn already accomplished, the first BlackSky satellite will separate from the kick stage in the right spot on this 450-kilometre circular orbit.
Payload 1, Global 19 deployed.
You heard it from Mission Control. That was the report that the first of the 2 BlackSky satellites have been successfully deployed to its new home in low Earth orbit. Electron has delivered the majority of BlackSky's constellation to LEO on Electron missions in 2019, actually. So it's great to have another successful deployment on the books again. This first satellite will be followed shortly by the payload adapter we added to the kick stage to accommodate the second satellite on this mission.
Payload 2, placeholder, is deployed.
Confirmation there, the payload adapter has been jettisoned, making way for the deployment of the second BlackSky payload coming up in the next few seconds. The 2 BlackSky Gen-2 satellites on this mission, along with those previously launched on Electron, represent the largest number of satellites BlackSky has dedicated to a single launch provider to date.
Payload 3, Global 5 is deployed. All payload deployment confirmed.
And there it goes. Mission Control have confirmed the second BlackSky satellite has now successfully deployed to its new home in orbit. Welcome to space, BlackSky and spaceflight, and congratulations on another successful mission. Thank you for your continued support in this launch and over the years.
That completes today's 35th Electron launch. Today's mission continues another exciting year ahead for Rocket Lab, our customers and the communities that use their satellites for everything from Earth observation and climate change research to weather monitoring, maritime surveillance, communications, and everything that keeps us more connected than ever. And if any of what you have seen today or heard excites you and you want to find out how you can join our team, visit rocketlabusa.com.
We're going to end the broadcast now, but you can always reach out and stay in our orbit by following us on social media to keep up to date about what we do here at Rocket Lab. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Rocket Lab Mission Control signing off.